Welcome back to more D-Tier Challenge. As I mentioned last week, I did get myself a gold potato to use and I applied it to Nyx, so this is what my build looks like now that I've been able to equip more items. Got Fleeting Expertise, Stretch, Intensify, slight changes. I don't know what to do about this yet. We'll have to see how this shapes out. But hopefully I'll be able to get the Exilus slot soonish, and I can put Cunning Drift on there as well. It's not really essential, so it'll get done. Another thing was I did some off-camera farming so I could get myself the Galvanized Aptitude that was supposed to be part of the build for my Dara. And here's what that looks like. But today we're doing Europa. So, Europa, we're going to hit Morax, Os, Sarath, Baal. Then we'll go back and hit Arias, because that's part of the requirement to get through here. Kokabiel, and Nama, saving the Raptor for last. Depending upon how quickly I go through this, I might do the 3 Void nodes here as well. We'll just have to see. But yeah, that's the plan for today.
This is a mobile defense mission. You must deliver payloads and defend a number of locations while I break into the network. Be prepared for heavy resistance. I can't do this without you.
Now, I still haven't been jumped by Stalker yet with this, but I'm hoping to see that sooner or later. Speaking of Stalker too, you know,
Terminal spotted.
it's interesting how they
Upload
sort
me
of built
and
up
prepare to defend.
the character and
This
then
will only get more difficult.
dropped it to
Get
the
to a
wayside, I
terminal
guess.
And prepare
Like,
for enemy resistance.
somebody I was talking to suggested that Stalker
This will
was
take a moment.
originally going to have his arc concluded in the Excalibur Umbra sacrifice plot quest. And like that was originally going to be the Stalker and not Umbra. Which a lot of that does kind of track. It seems like it wouldn't have taken too much to... They wouldn't have had to change
Still
too much.
working on it. Continue to defend.
I'm trying to shoot my own companion there for a second because I forgot I had a sentinel. But... And that would make sense, because it's really clear from some of the earlier storylines that we see that Stalker has a specific connection to the Tenno, or at least remembers one.
Area completed. Move on.
Which, if Stalker were a Warframe that had gained sentience, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be an interesting story arc. But they really can't pull that card again now that they've done it with Umbra. It just wouldn't have the same weight. If we're like, oh yeah, by the way, also Stalker, same deal. He's a Warframe that woke up. You're like, really? That would just be disappointing. So, if we can't do that with Stalker to have an interesting development, then you have to do something else with it. I talked to somebody
Still working on it.
I'm pretty sure it was
Continue to
two-star two-star players Discord in they were thinking of, well, what if it was a Dax that somehow learned how to use transference to gain control of a Warframe and get revenge for the genocide the Tenno committed? I could absolutely see a lot of ways where that would work. It makes pretty good sense. There's nothing that we've seen so far that contradicts it. Plenty of things that we've seen so far support it.
Move on.
I'm not a fan of it, even though it is at least as good of an idea, if not better of an idea than what I would want to do. But yeah, like if that happened, I would not be disappointed. But I don't think it would be as interesting as tying the Stalker and his acolytes more directly to the Tenno and to the Warframes, as opposed to just to another branch of Orokin military.
Tenno. This will take a moment.
My thought for Stalker and how to deal with these. My thought with Stalker and how to handle that was, what if Stalker was a Warframe, or had been a Warframe? Was a Tenno and had been a Tenno up until something
Continue to defend.
caused Stalker to wake up the same way that, not exactly the same way that the main character did, but the protagonist of Warframe being woken up in the second dream, right? Yeah, that sounds right. Instead of that, what if this was a Tenno that became aware of the dream, but wasn't able to break out of it the way that we did? Just knew that the Warframe wasn't them, and that they were someone else, and that the Lotus had been lying to them. That would be a pretty heavy experience. I think that'd be a really good argument for, or a reason, or a motivation for why Stalker might have turned against the Tenno and the Warframes, and just kind of angry at Lotus and at us for lying or misleading or being part of the deception. I think that would be really a cool thing to do. And then the Acolytes, you could make just other Tenno that Stalker went and awoke.
We have located the enemy's planetary communication towers. Capture the towers and remain in control long enough to decode incoming messages.
Making Stalker and his Acolytes directly tied to the origin of the Tenno, and having a role within Tenno culture, air quotes, I mean, you know, the whole community of the relays and all that, that could make for a lot more compelling conflicts to see between the characters. Like, do you try to redeem Stalker and his Acolytes, try to bring them back?
Tower online.
What would you do with that? That conflict would be interesting to see.
Tower lost.
And then also, now that we have worked with...
Tower captured. Beginning stream decode now.
Now that we have worked with Hunhow more directly, and had Stalker help us in our conflict with Narmer, it would be kind of interesting to see them as part of a new syndicate. I mean, looking at this from the point of view of the sentients... Jesus.
This tower is ours now.
But looking at this from the point of view of the sentients, they sent this family to do a preliminary invasion, or maybe just completely wipe out the origin system. And they've got Hunhow, Nata, and Era. And what is everyone completely botched? Nata switched sides.
Keep it up.
Worked with the Orokin weapons, the Warframes and the Tenno that she was supposed to destroy, to kill off her own people's invasion force, and in some weird way preserve what was left of the origin system. So Nata is no longer going to be trusted by any of the sentients from Tau. She's a problem.
Control. Keep fighting.
So Hunhow,
The
what do you...
enemy have taken a tower. You must recapture it.
Jeez. So Hunhow we'll get to next, but Era effectively won worked to take this all down, more or less reclaimed Nata,
Tower
but
online.
teamed up with an Orokin, Ballas, to do it in this weird cult way. They created an
The
armor.
enemy have captured a tower.
The Sentients are going to look at that and go,
We have lost
why?
control of a tower. Tower captured.
Why has this
Beginning
happened?
Stream decode now.
And if it had been successful, maybe they would have forgiven it. But it wasn't successful. It screwed up.
You have captured a radio tower.
Ballas was corrupt as all hell, just like they would have expected, just like Era should have predicted. But that didn't help him make the right decision. He sided with Ballas.
Tower lost.
Good God.
Tower online.
I hate interceptions.
The enemy have taken a tower.
Really?
You must recapture it.
They normally just kind of focus down one instead of just here. They're just going after everything
Tower
sort of
captured.
equally.
Beginning stream decode now.
So, Era switched, sort of switched sides. Worked with the traitor Ballas, who really should have just been killed.
The enemy
He
have
was an
captured a
Orokin.
tower.
Sure, he was helpful
You
in
have
them
captured a
getting
radio tower.
the edge against the Warframes and against the Tenno. But who cares? That's not really the job. Yeah, he can help out, but at the end of the day, he's still Orokin.
Tower
You should
lost.
still finish him off. They didn't. They worked with him,
This tower is ours now.
which, again, that's gonna make Era look contaminated or corrupt. So why did I keep Hun Hao for last? Well, Hun Hao worked
We
with
have control of all four
one of the
towers.
Tenno to help
The enemy has
betray.
taken a tower. You must recapture it.
I cannot keep up with this. Alright. So, Hun Hao gave special weapons to one of the Tenno to help them overthrow Ballas and Era. To ruin this whole thing.
We cannot allow the enemy to learn of our espionage.
And then from there,
Eliminate the
Era
remaining
switched
enemy personnel.
sides from his own invasion force, more or less, because he realized working with Hun Hao was a mistake. And Era worked with the Tenno too. Right? So, this entire family of sentients that came to the
The
system
enemy have deployed
failed.
fierce reinforcements.
Failed a
Are
lot.
you willing to stay and decode more messages?
Oh, we're extracting. I'm done with this one.
Try and capture another signal. Be careful though. The enemy has surely rallied stronger reinforcements. We are here to hijack a Corpus rover loaded with valuable cargo and escort it to our extraction point. The Corpus are trying to scavenge anything of value from these crashed ships. This rover is carrying their most important finds.
Alright, so what I was saying before was Hun Hao, Era, and Nata have all gone wrong. The sentients from Tau, if they come back, they're never going to trust any one of these people. They're going to look at them all and go, wow, we sent you to kill these guys, and you've
Good
ended up
work.
becoming
We now have
more
control of
like
the
the
rover.
thing we wanted
Hold on,
destroyed.
Tenno. Good work. We now have control of the rover.
Don't do that,
Hold on,
but I
Tenno.
guess we're going to add you to
Things
the
just got
list of
more
things to get
complicated.
murdered.
The Corpus have corrupted the rover's power cell. I can reconfigure it, but its new source of power will be your WARFRAME shields.
Oh, I put down the wrong thing, didn't I? I did. But yeah, so if the sentients from Tau come to the origin system again, they're still going to want to destroy all of the descendants of the Orokin Empire, which is all of us. But they're also going to want to kill off all of the traitorous sentients that failed in their mission.
So far, so good.
Hunhao and Era, if Era's alive, I'm not going to want to do that. Not going to want to die for their people, I don't think. Hunhao definitely doesn't seem the sort anymore. Hunhao is kind of weird now. So if Hunhao isn't going to want to get wiped out by the sentients, and that's going to put them sort of on the same side as us in this future conflict. And that's why I was like, you know, it'd be kind of cool if Hunhao became a new syndicate. Hunhao, Era, and, well, not Natah because the Lotus is back now, but Hunhao and Era and Stalker and Stalker's acolytes could all end up being like another syndicate. People that we would work with to try and stop future invasions. Maybe more of a frenemy sort of relationship the way we have going with Alan V, but would be kind of cool to be able to unlock different sentient-based, sentient-themed mods or things like that by working with Hunhao and earning rep with them. Oh, man, really? Let's go. And honestly, it would make some kind of sense, because from what we've seen with Hunhao, it seems like the relationship with him as the antagonist has already kind of changed or eroded. So why not go full on with that and change him to a protagonist, sort of, or at least a mutual enemy of our bigger problem of the origin system being invaded. And it's got kind of a good mythological vibe to it, too, of the sentients that were sent here getting corrupt or switching sides. It really? Oh.
The rover is taking heavy damage. You must protect it.
There we go.
Eliminate all Corpus threats.
Maybe that's kind of a weird resolution to expect, but I think it would be an interesting way to try and bring Stalker's whole group back into narrative focus. If we have to work with them to stop the invasion, that would be a lot of motivation for us to learn what Stalker and the Acolytes are, where they came from, what caused them to want to fight the other Warframes in Tenno, why they have a problem with us. And, I mean, the Lotus did a big lie, keeping us asleep in the second dream. So, having that revealed to you could definitely be motivation for everything that we've seen from Stalker. And the way that, like, the way that Stalker stares at his hand in that one cutscene. I know, the original the more common interpretation is that, oh, he's a self-aware Warframe that's thinking about what it meant to be a puppet of a Tenno. I'm like, yeah, that could have been what it was originally, or probably is what it was originally. It's not going to work that way anymore. So if it's a Tenno who never awoke and never who never awoke and never got to be like us, never got out of their Warframe. that could be a similarly important moment of them looking at us rescuing ourselves and looking down at themselves and like thinking, you know, that the hand that they see isn't theirs. That could be a good emotional reason for them to not want to go through with killing us at that moment. Up until then, you know, you can kind of see it like a bit of teenager sibling, like a sibling rivalry or teenage rebellion. Of you have Stalker, who is under this model, you assume that Stalker is another Tenno who's mad about finding out about the Warframes. So taking out that frustration on family by going around and smashing Warframes. But because they know that they're not killing us, because they know what Warframes are and they know what Tenno are, it's not really a concern the way that it would be otherwise. It's just a fight. It's not murder. And when faced with the choice to make it actually murder, we saw Stalkers like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's one way that I would see being able to justify it further as being the sort of a rogue Tenno faction that Stalker has formed. I like that better, honestly.
Another successful mission. Find extraction.
Not right.
There is a prisoner here that is vital to our operations. Search for the holding location.
Okay, so that's my preference of making them a rogue Tenno faction. But not everyone likes that. Not everyone agrees with that model. So, what would be another route that that you could take with that? Like I said, somebody was talking to me in the Discord about, well, how do you know they're not DACs that have abused transference and had it go horribly wrong?
There's no telling what
We've seen transference used in other cases, like the researcher who transferenced her entire mind into the Silver Grove. That's an example of transference being used by someone other than the Tenno. Didn't go super well. That's okay. Some Orokin have been seen using it because that's how they extend their lives.
They will surely initiate the execution sequence. The bypass is done. Go. This is the jail. Our hostage is in one of these cells.
Thank you, Tenno.
Okay.
Prisoner located. We need to get them back to command in one piece.
No problem.
Find your
We can
way
get
to
out of
the
here.
exits, and don't leave the subject behind.
So, if instead of being a Tenno, we're doing this as
Want an extra weapon?
a DAX that transferred themselves into a Warframe, that brings up some new questions. But it could be interesting still.
Your target is the reactor. The reactor will have tight security. Watch out for enemy patrols. Your target is the system mainframe. Deliver the payload.
Okay, so now we're looking at this instead as DACs that have stolen some transference tech and misused Warframes to kind of really do a fucked up, cursed thing to themselves, right? So how does this go about? You have a DAX that survived the apocalypse that the Tenno brought to the Orokin. They were there, they witnessed us exterminate the Orokin, and they escaped. However they managed that, they also must have found some old Orokin research, some transference equipment, or
That's
just
the
some
reactor.
Kuva, because
Expose
we know
its
Kuva
core
is
and
used
destroy it.
for transference purposes. So they salvage some Kuva, they find information on how how the Tenno used transference to control the Warframes.
That's it. Now get out of here.
Then they go hunting and they kill, air quotes, a Warframe. You know, just collecting parts basically. And they stitch these abomination Warframes together out of whatever bits they can, and transference themselves into the corpses of the Warframes that they have assembled. Oof. Gross, but then you have a Dax that you don't here fight each other, guys. Then you have a Dax that has control of a Warframe, and that could explain Stalker.
I thought we had seen the last of this dreaded Raptor project, but now the Corpus have escalated their interest and investments. We need to shut them down for good. The new Raptor production facility appears to be entirely underground. A crashed freighter on the surface has been masking its location. I fear they have developed even more deadly Raptor prototypes here.
Alright, so how
This may be difficult. The production facility is entirely automated. There is no way in without your Warframe being torn up in the assembly line. You'll have to figure out how to destroy it from the planet's surface.
So how do we explain Stalker's acolytes then, right? We figured out where we could get Stalker from, but the acolytes came after that. So could be that Stalker had this stash of
Do not risk the
Kuva.
Corpus developing more advanced robotics. If the Corpus are building newer Raptors, it's imperative we destroy the prototypes and their means of production.
Stalker has this stash of Kuva, then runs into or meets other victims of the Tenno's genocides, because we kill a lot of people. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but even just here, we kill a lot of people. Maybe other Dax survivors, or just people from the Origin system who have a grudge against the Tenno.
Corpus are using a gravity conveyor system to move product up to the surface. These will be heavily shielded. Well done, Tenno. But you
Alright.
have to completely cripple this facility to halt Raptor production. Keep at it.
What the hell? Oh no! Accidentally mind controlled that. I didn't know you could mind control the raptors. Oh shit. That didn't work. That should do it.
I'm seeing massive internal damage to their facility. Keep it up.
Nailed it.
The entire factory has gone critical. Great work, Tenno. The Corpus financiers will regret their investments today. Now, get out of there.
Yep, we're leaving.
Corpus walkers are heading to your location.
Okay. So Stalker has recruited other victims of the Tenno genocides and said, hey, how would you like to get revenge? We go, we kill some Warframes, we collect their parts, we smash them together until we've made these shadows. I'm using that word because that's what Hunhout calls Stalker, a shadow. So we use that, and then we transference you into it to make the acolytes.
They won't be bothering us anymore. Let's get out of here.
Alright, well, random, very sidetracked conversation I had going there, but we finished Europa. Well, reward times, sort of. We did just kill a boss, which means we get a forma, and I'm going to spend that forma right here. And put it on galvanized aptitude. Doesn't really do much for us yet, but it's getting there. And there's 3 nodes in the void, but honestly I'm looking at what's coming up for Saturn, and Saturn is really sort of short, so we're going to save these 3 and we're going to do them at the start of next episode before we go through Saturn.